Hello everyone, welcome back to On the Fly. Today we're going to be reviewing day one of the Women's Olympic Hockey event. So we'll get right on into it, starting with the games of today. So first game on top for today was Canada against Switzerland. So Canada did end up winning 12-1 over the Swiss and really was an absolute annihilation of the Swiss team. Canada never looked back from the start of the puck drop to the end, just put their foot on the pedal and just kept rolling. So with that, obviously, Canada killed them. They're going to continue that well into their next games. But it is going to be interesting to see how the Swiss can bounce back. Obviously, they do play the Russians coming up fairly soon. So it is going to be very curious to see whether or not they are going to actually be able to come back from that defeat. But I do expect them to. And obviously, they are a team that is sort of built to go far. They do have quite good leadership with Stalder and Mueller, but I do expect them to definitely roll, especially with Canada. They're going to treat this as just another game against the Canadians. Canada always is going to dominate them no matter what ends up happening. But moving on to the second game of the day in Group A action was the U.S. versus the Finns. So quite a few storylines from this game right off the start with Brianna Decker getting injured. She is out for the tournament, so it is very unfortunate. Hope for a speedy recovery. And really the U.S. did not look back after that. Despite the score 5-2, it was an absolute blowout. The Finnish goaltender faced 52 shots and only let in 5 goals, so that is very impressive. And really, they had no business being in that game. As close as it was, even the goal came back at the end of the game. They thought they were going to win. For the U.S. thought they were going to win, and then they had to come back and play the last 2.5 minutes. It was quite an interesting game. Definitely recommend taking a look at it if you have the time. It was definitely an interesting game. Lots of stuff ended up happening. Lights went out as well, so definitely day one makes sense for these sort of games. They're not quite up to speed yet, but they will be fairly soon. And then moving on to Group B action. So if you remember Group A, everybody makes it. But in Group B, you have to be the top 3 teams in order to make the quarterfinals. So in Group B action, the Czechs played China. Both these teams making their Olympic debut, and they both played pretty well. I thought China especially turned some heads. I think the only reason why the game wasn't 4-3, 5-3 China is because they don't have the finishing touch. They had more than enough breakaways, more than enough odd man chances. And in the end, they just couldn't finish. So I think for China, definitely something to look forward to. Lots of solid opportunities. And for the Czechs, they are a team to watch. Obviously, they are one of the top teams in Group B. And I think especially if you're looking at it, it makes definitely sense to basically put your bets on them to win Group B. I think between the Czechs and Japan will be the determinator. And I think in the end, it will be the Czechs reigning victorious over Group B and then playing most likely either the Russians or the Swiss, because I think Finland will take third. But it is going to be interesting to see where that ends up. And then the final game of the day during the early morning hours was 3:40 a.m. again with Japan against Sweden. So Japan beating Sweden 3-1. Many people were surprised by the outcome of this game, but you got to remember this isn't the men's hockey. Sweden isn't as strong in the women's game as in the men's, and Japan is pretty strong. Team Smile wins another game. So with that being said, Japan turning some heads at the Olympics right off the gate, winning their first game 3-1 over the Swedes. So that concludes today's games. Taking a look at these standings. So we got Canada, U.S. On top of Group A with the Finns and the Swiss. Obviously, the losers of the games are going to be at the bottom. And then for Group B, Czechs and Japan up top with China and Sweden coming up the rear with Russia in the middle for Group A and Denmark, who both have not played games. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they turn out in tonight's games. And speaking of tonight's games, we have the upcoming schedule. So it is the Danes against the Chinese at 11:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as the Russians and the Swiss at 11:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then just reviewing the news from today's action, Decker is out. Melody Daou also hurt in the Canada game. She is listed as day-to-day, but it most likely will be later if she is to return. And the Czechs winning their first ever Olympic game. for their first time in history. Obviously, they haven't ever been in this position before, but I do think that they are poised to make a deep run this year. If you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. If you'd like to drop a like, if you really like to, consider subscribing. Tell all your friends, leave a comment down below your thoughts on day one of the Women's Olympic event. Until next time, see ya.